All right, go ahead.
Massagens exatamente.
Okay, we're on.
That's great. So we have Van in the house. This is Sky. We got Claire, and it looks like we also have Monique. Is that Monique the doula?
Yes, ma'am.
And we are here with Marinate. Marinate Conversations. We want to provoke thought. And tonight, we probably get into other things, but our main topic of conversation is how does your religious beliefs affect your health? Now, Van, you want to expound upon that?
No, I think I'll let you start it off. I mean, I have a feeling that you got some real golden nuggets about that one.
I didn't
So,
hear. I can't hear what you're saying. You're breaking up. But wait a minute. Wait a minute, because your connection is
I'll
not
let
sounding good.
you start it off. Belief affect your health.
Are you hearing it good?
Does.
Okay, I'm just gonna mute him because it's not coming out good, Van. Your connection is not good. But anyway, so how does your religious beliefs affect your health? I don't know who came up with that topic. Actually, I know I didn't. But I can tell you for a fact, and it's not across the board and in all cases, but I could tell you a little story that kind of pissed me off because of the religious thing. I'm not a religious person. Let's just get it out there right now. And I guess I use the term spiritual, but I don't really care about that either. I'm just a human. I just live in the world. I'm a nature person. So I have this friend, and she wasn't a close, super close friend, but she was, let me mute you, Van, because you're loud. Okay. So I had this, I'll call her more of a customer, an acquaintance. And she was beautiful. She was married. She had 3 gorgeous children. She homeschooled them. She did hair for a living. She was amazing. I mean, she was quiet. Like, I was always the loud one, but she was quiet and reserved. And, you know, I always admire women who are like, they sit there properly and they, you know, their voice is sweet and cute and dainty. And I'm all like, girl, let me tell you. Like, I'm always like the loud, over-the-top one because I try to be that demure lady, but not all the time does it work. Anyway, long story short, no one knew this. Maybe a few very close personal friends of hers knew this, but her husband was super abusive toward her. He would beat her up. I'm sure there was some mental controlling things going on, et cetera, et cetera. So one day, I guess she had had enough of this, and she decided to go to the court to get a restraining order so that, I mean, I think she was at the point where she was about to move out. And she was at the point where she needed help because he was threatening her and all this kind of stuff. She went to the courthouse. She got a restraining order, walked out of the courthouse, and then when she left, she was coming down the stairs of the courthouse. Her husband met her there and stabbed her like 50 times. it got so bad, like I guess he lost it, like he was out of his mind, like he literally left his body, that the police officer that was standing there could not stop him. The only thing that stopped him was the police officer shot him a few times in the leg, and he still continued, but it finally made him stop. So I can't even imagine the scene. So anyway, long story short, so that's the background. So they take her mangled up body to the hospital and contact family and what have you. And, you know, I guess they stabilize her. I'm not sure what the procedures are, but they basically stabilize the person so that they can, like, they're basically on a heart monitor, on this, on that, get some. And what happened was her cousin or family member, I'm not even sure what the real relationship is, but her parents, I think, were deceased, or, yeah, I think they were deceased. Anyway, long story short, because I'm long-winded, is her family, whatever, came with a letter, a notarized or a written document, stating not to give blood because they were Jehovah's Witnesses. And you know, when a doctor gets those kind of orders, then the doctor has to back up. You know, at that point he has all the skills he has, and they had a plan and a program to save her life. And when the family ran into the hospital with this letter, not to give her blood or blood transfusion, what have you, they had to stop the press. They had to stop the whole thing. And literally, she died. She was also like a few months pregnant, and she had 3 kids. So when I heard the whole story, I was so upset because, first of all, my sisters are Jehovah's Witnesses. So I have a personal, complete understanding of the religion. I've been in it. I never became one, but I've been amongst them. I went to every event. I've been to Kingdom Hall. I've been to Bethel in Brooklyn. I've been to the Watchtower, which is in Brooklyn. And I'm not against the religion per se. I just feel like nothing about that made sense to me at all. The father naturally is going to spend the rest of his life in jail because it was live and in living color. The children are now without parents. And, you know, when that happened, I called my sister. And I said, this is why this bullshit doesn't fly with me, okay? I don't know who decided to make this up, and I don't know what doctrine and what Bible and what, I don't really care where you got it from. But if a doctor in a hospital said, yeah, we can save her life, we can do our very best to save her life, but she's going to require blood, and we got a whole blood bank down in the basement, then I was going to do what the hell you can do. And so, you know, that was so, it was so upsetting to me that I was just like, ugh. Then, and this is probably a secret, but it passed a long time, so it is what it is. The same relative contacted me and asked me to go to trial against the husband because I was one of the few people who knew she was pregnant. And in my mind, I was like, no, I'm busy. I'm working that day. Like, I couldn't really tell her, you fucked her up. Ooh, can I say that? I'm sorry. it's just, you know, I mean, that's how I felt. You know, I didn't tell her to her face because that's her belief. That's her belief system, but that's how I felt. You know, she could have been alive today there was more of a chance she would have been alive today with her children, which whom you're now raising, if you didn't bring this bullcrap letter I would have forgotten it. If that was my religion, I would have skipped the letter and ran to the hospital and forgotten about it. The church would have been like, weren't you supposed to bring that letter? No, because I was trying to get to her to see what was going on. That's just how I feel about it. And to me, that's one of the ways that it affects your health. I don't even know where the basis of that philosophy came from. I'm sure I can call one of my sisters. Well, oh, you know where it came from? Would you like to join our conversation over here? Okay. Anyway, we have some outsiders.
I still know.
Why don't you tell us? I'll just...
You just don't turn it around. Hey everyone. It was a guy named Charles Taze Russell who founded the Jehovah's Witnesses. I'll just give you a blurb because, I mean, you know, y'all can look it up yourself. So it's good to do that. And they basically started off like as a Bible, like they studied the Bible, supposedly. And because Russell did not agree with the interpretations. So they kind of studied the Bible. They're almost like Christian Science in a sense, but they came up with their own New World Translation eventually. Russell eventually got kicked out of the, that happened in the 19 teens or something. I think Rutherford, I don't know, another guy took over. You can look him up too. I don't have the whole thing in my head. But what I'm saying, there was a series of individuals leading this that led up to like what it is today as far as its cult-like status. And it's a little too, it's definitely, it falls under the category of a cult. But they are basically, they supposedly studied the Bible until they came up with their own New World Translation. That's it.
Thank you. So, So, you know, I mean, and it's not to say that there is any like anti stuff going on here. As far to me, this is just basic general conversation. But anytime, and there's some other examples I have, but I'm gonna let y'all open up. Anytime you have a belief system, especially that's, I mean, maybe it's just where I stand. If you come up with some kind of health requirement that's not based in science, I can't, I'm just not going to support it. You know, I'm not into like surgery and, oh, this medication is better. I mean, I think a lot of things that are from nature are better too. But if, you know, someone had a vision and a dream that this was going to work, I have to question who that person is before I get into that whole thing. So I'm going to open it up. What are y'all thinking about religion affecting your health?
Claire, go for it, Claire.
No, you go ahead, Ben. I'm just thinking about that one. That's the big one. Mm-hmm.
Monique, you want to share?
Sure, I'll share. I know plenty of Jehovah's Witnesses, as Sky was saying, so I've heard that before. There are a lot of religions that I absolutely you know, agree with some of, you know, what they do as far as like, you know, no vaccinations and those sorts of things. But like you said, when it comes to something that is your life, it's life or death, and then it's like, no, you know, if they die, you know, it was God's will, and if they live, then that was God's will too. Like, that's not okay. I don't know, as for me, you know, I'm not a religious person. I mean, in my almost 35 years on the planet, I've studied lots of things, Islam and Christianity and all kinds of stuff. And now I'm, kind of finding my own way through life. What is that, folks make everything, can make anything and everything a religion, and I think with being a stickler to anything and not being able to bend and flow and make adjustments and make compromise, makes you religious, in whatever it is that you believe. And that, can compromise your health, period. It gives you anxiety, it makes you, nervous, it makes you, rigid, and, our bodies, you know, our bodies are, it mimics the earth. It's made to go with the earth and the cosmos and all that other stuff. And so we're meant to move and we're meant to flow. And yeah, I'm gonna stop now. I'm sorry because I have a little person coming in my room now. So anyone else want to jump in? Go ahead.
Okay, everybody mute. Maybe that's why you probably can't hear me. I think my connection is bad, um, unless everybody is muted. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if you can hear me. Can you just shake your heads? Can you hear me clear? Am I okay or am I breaking up?
I hear you.
I'm good. Okay. Yeah, I really don't have a religion I mean, like Monique said, I'm not really what you would call I'm not a garden variety Christian, or like I can take stuff from any religion and every religion, and if it makes sense to me and I feel it in my God self, then I can go with that. You know what I mean? And I know there are things that we can't interpret and there are things that we can't logically explain, and I get all that. I mean, if somebody can create the universe, then once you start trying to apply logic to that, that's where you lose. So I understand that there are things that probably won't make sense, but maybe it is. But what I feel about things like, and I'm not, and I don't want to bastardize anybody's beliefs. That's you do what you want. But there's certain religions that were clearly created by people. You know what I mean? Just as we went along. They like you guys were saying, they didn't believe in, they had their own interpretation, so they started applying logic to the religion, you know what I mean, and made it into something else. And a lot of times what you have in those cases is you have a very fanatical person, you know what I mean, like that'll just come, that explains, so rest in peace the Jim Jones guy. That explains the guy that said the UFOs are coming with the comet. I mean, it goes there, and there's a lot of instances like that. You know what I mean, where people will come up with the guy in tech, David Koresh, whatever his name was, the Texas thing. It was so long ago, I forget. That was before Jim Jones, I think, and he had people following him, ready to die. People died because this man said he was Jesus. You see what I'm saying? So for me, it's like the whole cult thing, and like, I mean, I know people are lost and people, are looking for answers, and, people go through things in their upbringing and it causes them to fall into favor with that kind of thing. I have never understood that in all of my years. I mean, when my mother used to send us to church, I couldn't go to church. I was about 5 years old, and I boycotted church. And my mother thought I was the devil incarnate for that. And I risked getting the skin beaten off of me because I refused, and I didn't care. It's like there was something about it that just didn't fit with me personally. So I never really subscribed to houses of ministry. I do understand it, and I understand the fellowship of it and the spirituality of it, because that's where I fall in. I'm spiritual. I'm more of a person that relies on things and not the what man says. You see what I'm saying? So first of all, my belief is that the Bible itself was messed with. You know, well, obviously, you know what I mean. If you want to say it's the Bible, well, Francis Bacon edited
You're breaking up again.
from. Like it's noted. Not, okay. Well, maybe I'll just let you guys have it because I don't know. My reception's horrible
Oh,
in my house.
go ahead. Continue talking. It came back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You know, the Bible is noted to have come from the Metuneta, from Africa. I mean, there's so many discrepancies and who you listen to, and this is what turned me off about religion in the first place. It's like there's just too many. First of all, there are too many denominations, and more people have been killed over religion in world history. You know, the Bible itself, what we know as modern day Christianity, when was that introduced? During slavery, for the most part. I mean, I don't want to get heavy, okay, because I want to keep the show fun and light. But you got to know these things. Like at the end of the day, I don't subscribe to a lot of that stuff. You know, I believe in God. I believe that there's a force that is omnipotent and in its love, and I deal with that. I mean, I don't know about anything else. All, you know, these people popping up and calling themselves the prophet, and you know, they're Jesus, or I just never ever understood that, even as a little boy. Not that I'm special, I just never got it. And like I said, I got into a lot of trouble with my mother because I refused to go to Sunday school and I refused to go to church after a while. Because I saw, you know, in church it's all about, oh, if you dress nice and, you know, everybody's talking bad about the next person. Oh, look at him, look at her, who does she think she is? This is church. And I'm like, as a little kid, I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, well, aren't we supposed to be here to worship? Even I knew that, to worship God. So, yeah, I think religion is bad for your health. But no offense to anyone. That's just my personal opinion. But if it works for you, do what you got to do. You know, that was a great topic, Sky.
I agree. I do think it's bad for your health, but most of the world is religious. And that's just kind of disappointing to me because I feel like we're the people who think, you know what I mean? Because and it's hard to say, like, no disrespect, you know what I mean? Because by questioning someone's belief, it's going to be disrespectful to them. They're going to feel, well, you're disrespecting me. You know, you're messing with my God, my Bible. You're talking about how this ain't right. This is not cool, and there's gonna be a feeling of disrespect. And I don't think that's the intention, you know. But to have a open communication about it, you know, like for example, I saw it was one of those memes that. You know, some of these, they just make you think. And the meme said, let me remember. It said something about, what was it, Thanksgiving or Christmas, how Christians, and this is not all about Christianity, y'all, so every religion. But this particular meme was about how Christians eat pork for Thanksgiving, no, for Christmas while celebrating a pagan holiday or something like weird like that. And you know, and it's supposedly in the Bible. So I can't revert back to, you know, some people can revert back to, you know, chapters and what have you, chapters and verses. I can't do that. But somewhere it supposedly says you're not supposed to eat pork, from what I've been told. So you could correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, I've noticed this. I've noticed that a lot of gospel singers if you ever look at gospel choirs, they always seem to be like super big. And I remember when I was in Baltimore, there was this pastor who used to come to the restaurant I had almost if it wasn't every day, it was like every day, and then he'll miss a day, but every day. Yeah, every other day, whatever. So he was so cool, honestly, that I went to his church a couple times. And he like would introduce me as the minister of vegetarianism. And he wanted me to help his congregation. He wanted me to help his congregation like start eating healthier. Because after church, then they had, you know how they have, let me mute Van. After church, they would have you know how they have like a dinner or lunch, brunch, whatever. And it was straight soul food. And I don't even know why they call it soul food. But, you know, when I did have a few workshops at the church, actually. And when he gave me the opportunity to use, my forum at his church to help folks get healthier. But, there was this conversation, like, I think, and I don't know if it's related to religion. I think this is kind of just across the board. Folks think that eating like salad and veggies is like living in lack. There's this living in abundance thing that comes with eating like heavy meat and heavy, eating lots of food and having a plate piled high with sauce and gravy. But when you have a light salad that's, crispy and green and steamed, sometimes people feel like they're dying, like, why are you giving me this rabbit food? Like, we are rich, we can buy, we can afford, we can, we need to eat like the kings, and these are the same foods that are causing a lot of health issues. So, that's kind of where I see religion hurting people's health. But once again, some of it is not just destined to religion. Another funny thing about religion that becomes a health concern is, and this also came to me in a meme, right? It was a picture of like a guy in recovery after like some terrible surgery that the doctor came and helped save his life. And the family came into the room and was like, thank God. And the bubble that was on the doctor's head was like, where was he? I was in there doing all the work. And I mean, I don't know if that's just, maybe that was humorous to me, but I gotta keep muting you.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if it was humorous to me, but it was just something to think about, in the sense of, these things are what provokes thought. Like, I've seen things that are, I see things that are posted online, like people put so much faith in, God saved this person, he wasn't meant to die today, and blah, 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 blah. But the truth of the matter is if the doctor didn't do the surgery, or if the medication or whatever method that they used didn't work, then yeah, today would have been his last day. So, but I guess that all has to do with faith. So that maybe that's going into a different realm. On another note, and this might change the channel a little bit, but this is part of like current events. A lady set fire to her husband because she found out that he molested their 7-year-old daughter. And the comments that I was reading had me rolling on the floor because there was so much support for her. You know, there was a few people that were like, no, she should have called the police and had him arrested like the proper way. Two wrongs don't make a right, and what have you. And I guess the question is, and I don't know if there's no right or wrong answer. The question is, like, what would you do if you find out that your mate molested your child? I mean, I don't expect anyone to say they would burn them up, but, you know, that's a terrible thing. And I've seen the opposite of that, where a woman knew that her husband was molesting her child and didn't do anything, like let it happen for a period of years. And this is on YouTube. And the judge rolled that woman out. You know, she just was like, "You are sick," you know. And so this is the same story, but with an opposite happening. And personally, the way I feel about that mother, she was right. She was right. Do I wish harm on any human being? I really don't. But I feel for the child, and I feel like, um, you know, this is your father. This is someone who you trust and respect, and probably are fearful of. Like, you know, that child was helpless, you know, and I don't know, you know, I think, you know, people might not agree with that, but, you know, honestly, I hope she gets like temporary insanity for that moment and they let her off, because if a judge doesn't understand the feelings that come over a person when someone messes with their child, I just don't know what's going on in the world. That's how I feel. Any comments about either conversation?
I'm in complete agreement with you, Sky, because
Oh, okay.
I can't imagine somebody doing that to my baby. Like I, whatever God you believe in, may they help you, because
Exactly.
no, it's no. But yeah, you were talking about you know, you brought up the fact that when you see like gospel singers and you know people in church, that they're like usually morbidly obese, and I, it's crazy to me because most religion, I'll say the major religions that we have, you know, here, you know, Western religions, Abrahamic religions, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, they focus so much on food. All the religions, they focus on food. In every one of the texts, you know, it talks about food, what you can eat, what you can't eat, how, you know, how you worship, you know, sacrificing cows and lambs and that sort of thing. And you know, when there are certain, you know, prophets and they feed the people, and a lot of control can be had. A lot of control can be had on people when you are feeding them or not feeding them. And, you know, that part of your brain, you know, when you come in somebody's house with food, you know, you come in their house and y'all are talking business and you don't feed them, you know, business is pretty much is business as usual, and y'all ain't really friends. But you know, the food has that kind of control. You can control a person with what you give them or what you don't give them, what you give them or what you withhold from them. And that is a problem with religion, with a lot of, you know, religions, is that they can control people. And like you were saying, especially in the black church, is really it's a seat of power for the black community, where there is no power in the rest of society. And you know, the black church is kind of where, you have, there's a hierarchy that you can achieve that you can't really achieve out in the rest of the world. And like you said, when you tell somebody they're gonna have a salad, it's like, no, 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 I don't want a salad. Give me some fried chicken, give me this, because you do, we want to achieve what the rest of the world has. So that there's a prosperity teaching, there's a thing that's, moderate is seen as lack, it's poor, it's, and that's something that, psychologically, our people, we have a problem with. We have a problem with, somebody taking something out of our mouths, because it's like, well, I grew up not having anything. I grew up not, so when you go to the church and the church tells you, no, God wants you to have it all. God wants you to be rich. God wants you to do this. God wants you to do that. And so, what is equated with being rich? Having a whole bunch, and that includes food. But, a lot of people in the church also suffer from really, really, really poor health, cancer, diabetes, lots of things that are just, crazy, just crazy, out of control bodies, and, immune systems, and just junky, uh, health systems, within themselves. And it comes from, it comes from just the have that control, and that mindset of, wanting to have it all. Like, when you have somebody who grows up poor, and once they get something, they become, miserly almost, because they don't want to lose it. So I think that, that mindset goes along with the folks that you see.
I agree with that. Van, were you getting, I see you were popping in and out. Are you good? Okay.
I'm good.
Did you want to share?
I'm good. Did everybody
So,
share?
go ahead.
Okay, everybody mute. And I think that has a lot to do with me not. I gotta fix my situation. I have a terrible connecting thing in this. It's so cold I'd go outside. All right, let's address the I heard mainly what Monique was saying, and yeah, that to me, that's spot on also. There's so much dogma surrounding the whole issue of food and religion, and control, and that whole business. Um, and it's one way to gain your power back when you fast. You see, I'm glad this came up, because you can gain a little bit of your power back. When you fast, you're in control of yourself, you're in control of your eating habits. You're in control of your addictions to alcohol, cigarettes, all the bad habits that you pick up, all the emotional connections to the sweets, and and those things like that, the chicken and the things that we love so much. Um, it's a beautiful way to connect with the source, whatever the source is. To me, it's like the grassroots, generic, it's just that way to take control back of yourself, is to go on a fast. If you can't do 21 days, do 10 days, do 5, doing every graduate.
We're not hearing you good.
To hear this. Okay. I may just not say too much tonight, because I'm
All right.
I'm gonna
It's
have to probably do the calls not in.
yeah, it's like coming in and out. It's like we can hear you and then it goes out. At least for me. Claire, are you hearing the same way, or can you hear him completely?
Yeah, no, it's going in and out a lot.
Okay. So basically, on the other note, on the other side, on the other hand, it's not all bad. I was thinking of some really good things, and you mentioned fasting. What I think is really positive about religions that come together, different churches, and even like Islam, that come together as a group or society or as a time period to cleanse and detox together, that's really empowering as well, because there's your support system. You know, if everyone in your church is like fasting, then you have that connection with everyone to fast. You have that power. Some of the fasting I don't agree with, just because my mindset with fasting is like true fasting, but people still reduce how much they're eating. People still actually cleanse their body, because it's not how they're doing their fast, it's the fact that they have eliminated so many other things. So in essence, it still benefits them. What else do I find is more beneficial in religion that does positively affect health is fasting is I guess okay, here's a good one. When I was living in Baltimore, my uncle invited me and my children to go gleaning. And I don't know if you guys ever heard of gleaning, but this is a biblical term where basically when a farmer has like every week when he goes to pick his crops, they're basically picking the crops that are going at the best price. So the crop that is lower this week, they don't really have the manpower, the time to pick it if they're not going to get a good yield on it. Or they might have picked enough and there's so much to pick that's dropping all over the floor or whatever, the ground or whatever. So they call the churches in and they give them their guidelines, and folks pick for themselves. So I went once with my uncle's church, and we went to an apple orchard somewhere in Maryland, and we had to take all the apples, nothing from the tree, so just stuff that had fallen. And we put it in big, big, big sacks, like potato sacks. And we had to do 2 sacks per person for the Maryland Food Bank, which was the food place that does food for like the homeless shelters and what have you, the needy. And then after every person who comes does 2 bags of apples, then the rest of the time you're there, you can pick as many apples as you want, as long as you're just taking them off the ground. And that was just amazing. And we've done it, and he's done it. I didn't go every time, but they brought grapefruit, they brought sweet potatoes, they brought all kinds of veggies, like so much you just wouldn't even know what to do with it. So on the beneficial side, I see that as a really beautiful thing, to allow church members to come and pick in abundance what is left over from the farm, the crops, for the members of the church, because it helps them get fresh food and eat healthier, and I think it's a great, great program. So it's not all bad, it's not all negative. We don't want to just espouse negativity, especially on the churches. But, you know, there are some benefits to their health that it happens, and then there's some downsides to it. So, Claire, you want to share?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, for me too. I'm not really anyway religious. It's funny because the way I was brought up, I was like had it from all corners, because like I was brought up in a Buddhist family, although I didn't really follow it. I felt. And then, you know, my my grandmother on my mom's side was like on the fence, so she was like neither Protestant or Catholic, and then had my dad's side, he was like Catholic, so got it from all corners, you know. And like I remember having to go to like, you know, the Bihar or whatever, the Buddhist side of things, and it just didn't really click with me. For me, I just feel like, you know, there's nature, like is creation, and I just wanted to say that. And you know, I remember going to church too. I hated it, like having to sit on those what do you call it, those the wooden chairs anyway, you know. It was like grueling for me. But yeah, I think that yeah, like you're saying, Sky, like some aspects of religion is not all negative. I mean, there is negative points to it as well, but like you were saying earlier in the conversations, I think one thing we didn't touch on is like the physicality. Like, you know, yoga is also good. Like, you know, a lot of Indian practices, you know, they do yoga, and you know, you can go down the spiritual aspects of it. Yes, that's beneficial. But yeah, I agree. Like, you know, I mean, I'm not totally slamming the people that like believe in, like, you know, Jehovah, like Jesus, whatever, you know. If it's your thing, that's cool. But yeah, it's just not my thing, and that's all I want to say about it.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now? I'm outside.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Positive aspects, and there's going to be some negative aspects, and I only think it's negative because I think it's a lot of it has been self-imposed by man, and man has gotten away from the real principles of what, you know, what actual religion really is for, and what it is to connect us with God and the universal principles. And you know, I think a lot of times, like anything else, and like I said, I'm a fan of man and I'm a fan of the human condition, but unfortunately when man touches things, you know, kind of does, you know, he wants to infuse his own, you know, what he needs out of it. So what ends up happening is that as time goes on, you know, they keep the stuff they like, they get rid of the stuff they don't like, and the next thing you know, you have some sort of a religious, you know, hybrid spin-off that is real, has nothing to do with what it's supposed to be there for. So, but you know, the basics of religion, if you're in tune with yourself, and you know, once again, it's all about being in tune with yourself, because usually when you are, you already have the answers. That's the thing. Like, you were born with the answers. You know, you already know. But a lot of us are just so, we're not tuned in. We're not, you know, we're tuned out. It's not anyone's fault per se, but we spend all our time doing our hair and you know, and dressing nice, but we don't really deal with our spiritual and our internal selves. And what ends up happening is, and I'm talking about just going to church, I mean, it's something way deeper than that. We don't spend time even knowing ourselves, and we don't spend time being in tune with who we really are as a creature, you know, as a light being, so to speak. Because I do believe that we all have God in us. I believe that God is in each of us, and the answers are already there. But it's like we just don't know how to tune in or whatever. I don't know, but you will know when nonsense is. You know, you will know when there's nonsense. You just know it. You know, if you just would not be afraid to find out who you really are. So like I said, you know, I don't want to get too heavy on that, and I don't want to disrespect anybody's views, but I have my own way of looking at religion. I think religion has been tarnished and tainted. I think a lot of it is, you know, the principles, a lot of it is probably true, but I think man has gotten his hands on it. And then once again, you go to one church, and one pastor or reverend or whatever house of worship you go to will interpret that Bible completely different from the next guy. I've seen it. I've seen one verse that was interpreted like 4 different ways based upon who's interpreting it. So, here we go. It's like, it's just, to me, it's just no. It's like, no. Like, I'm gonna follow my intuition. I'm gonna listen to my higher self and my God self, and I'm gonna get the answers that way. So that's my spin on religion. For me, for the most part, it's sort of a dogma thing, so to speak. But of course, it's got great stuff in it, because it is a fact. I mean, it came from what it was supposed to be about, but then it got tainted, like I said. So you have to be careful with anything. You know, you have to be careful with anything. But that's my spin.
That's groovy. I appreciate your spin. Um, I I think we're gonna close up um, shortly in like a minute or so. We had like a few people. I'm not sure if they were bouncing in and out the call or what, but this has been fun having these conversations. We have like tons of conversations Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know this Sunday the time changes. I'm not sure which direction it goes in, but I'm sure someone will tell me. But I guess that will, I don't know if does that change the time of what this call will be? I'm not sure. But anyway, what were you going to say, Van?
No, it's always spring ahead and fall back. So being that the spring is,
Okay, but I think we're still going to be at the same
it
time
won't
anyway.
affect the time of fall. It
Right.
won't affect it. It'll still be 9 o'clock. We'll just lose an hour. We'll lose an hour.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
all.
So, so that's pretty cool. Tomorrow we are going to be talking about, so Van and I, we've been brainstorming and we came up with all these different conversations to have. And I basically put them in order according to how we've come up with them, and they're random. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about cheapskates. Are you one? And I know I definitely am a cheapskate. So I'm not a cheapskate in all areas though, but I have some very keen areas that I'm a cheapskate in, and I can't wait to have that conversation. Wednesday, we're going to get a little more saucier, and we're going to talk about the lifestyle called polyamory, which means many loves, and it's more of like an open relationship. A lot of people think of, when they hear polyamory, they think of polygamy, but it's not polygamy at all. And if you guys want to research what polyamory is, you can Google that. But the cool thing is that on Wednesday we have Dwayne Mooney. I spoke to him today. Dwayne Mooney is the son of the great comedian Paul Mooney. And Dwayne Mooney is a polyamorous dude. He has 2 girlfriends, 2 wives. I don't know how he'll explain. So we'll have him on the call so he can be the direct conversation about this lifestyle. And I'm definitely interested in hearing more about this, because I just don't think there's one way, pretty much. I like that abundant thinking. So let me see what else we have for this week. For this week, we also have when is it okay to seek medical intervention over natural therapies? When is it not? Thursday. And on Friday, when is it okay to date your friend's ex? I say never, but there may be some situations that it'll work. So, and then the following week we have even more saucier topics. So these are just conversations, and if you want, feel free to click that little button that's on the bottom of your screen right there usually, that says join the call, so you can come in and talk to us, so we can see you and you can share your opinion. And like I said, this conversation this evening has only been about just conversating. We're not trying to disrespect anybody's belief system. That is not the intention at all. And I'm sure I could speak for Van that we just want the best for everyone. And I really think that folks need to open their heart, you know. And here's one more thing. I found an article online today that they're having an atheist convention here in Puerto Rico. And it was posted like in the news and on the website and Facebook and what have you. And all these religious people who are against the atheistic way of life, not everybody, but a lot of them started sending death threats to the atheists. And it's kind of funny, right? I mean, it just seems like religion always espouses like peace and love and, you know, tolerance of man and, you know, love your brother, blah, 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 blah. At least that's what it appears to be. But then to have death threats coming from Bible pushers, it doesn't make sense to me. But who am I? Let's see what happens with that. Van, you want to close out with any other remarks? If you're there. I think you're there, right?
Yeah, I would love to. I don't know if you can hear me
Yes.
clearly. Can you hear me clearly?
I'm going to mute.
I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she said, we decided to extend the show to basically when we were talking about just water, you know, focus on topics that, you know, that we normally would talk about any day. And sometimes me and Sky will talk on the phone and we'll just get into these conversations. So we said, you know, she actually thought of it and said, why don't we where we're just having a conversation and not just about health. I mean, yeah, we still want to focus on water fasting and detoxing and cleansing and exercise, but we also want to talk about things that interest, you know, all of us. So if you guys have any ideas, you're more than welcome to chime in and let us know, and then we can all have a conversation based around some of the stuff you guys want to talk about. Okay, thanks a lot. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you can hear. I know I was having problems before. And, you know, please tune in tomorrow night, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, whatever that means to you. Okay? Have a great night. Thank you.